Andrew here from Create in Spain. And before I go any further, if you end up hearing what sounds like purring on this video, I have a rather large black and white cat on my lap. He's insisting on being there, so that's why. Okay, today I'm going to show you how to do something similar to an airbrushed effect with the Shortcuts Lot 4 software. Now, you've probably done colour fills and pattern fills, possibly, and maybe you've done a few gradient fills, but haven't really got to grips with those. So this is what I want to do today, is get to grips with the gradient fill. And I'm just going to draw a shape. It would help if I clicked on it first, wouldn't it? Okay, I've got a shape here, and it's just filled with black at the moment, but that's really boring and not very clever. So I'm going to choose from the fill and stroke, and obviously this is the fill part of it. I'm going to choose gradient, and I've got a black and white gradient there. It's, again, pretty boring and definitely not what I want. But if you click on the colour swatch on the right hand side, you find the gradient box comes up. And you might be thinking, what do I do with that? And the first thing you want to do to make this really quite useful is to change it to radial. And although that particular one may not be unduly useful, it can be a very useful thing to be able to do. Now, if I click on my left little arrow here and move it along, you can see the effects that it has. Hang on, this cat's going to go down off my lap. He's trying to climb on the desk now. Okay, down he goes. You can see the effect that it has. But again, it's not what I actually want. So I'm going to click on the colour icon here. And then I'm going to go to what looks almost like the Apple curly-whirly thing that goes around when things are stuck. And that will bring up the colour wheel, which as it happens I've already got. But if you then move the slider, you get all sorts of variations in the colour wheel coming up. I'm going to put it right the way over here. Now the first one I'm going to pick is more or less in the centre. So that's made it white. Okay, you might not think that's very clever, but it may not be exactly what we want, but it's going to be close to. And again, if I click on the colour, I can come out a little bit, just out a little bit from the centre. And you see I've got this little like beigey colour coming up now. That is useful. So I'm going to click on OK. And you can see at the moment, I have well, you probably can see at the moment, it's very faint, but I have a little radial fill going on there. I'm going to click on the right hand one and go for a colour. And I'm going to go out just a bit further again. So this one's a biscuity colour. And OK. Now that's a little bit strong perhaps, but I've done that so at least you can see it. Now if you move the right slider towards the middle, you can see that you get a smaller and smaller portion of white in the middle. Move it right back out to the outside. And if you move the left one, you get a much bigger effect with the left. Now this in itself is quite a good one to have. So I'm going to add this as a preset. And I'm going to call it Biscuit, simply because it is more or less a biscuit colour. And there we go. Now if you press on this reverse button, it does exactly the reverse. Now in this particular colour, that's not overly useful. However, if I was to do it in a pink, it would be more useful because it would be like the apple of someone's cheek. And I want to change that one to another colour as well. And I'm going to put it paler. Okay, now I'm going to reverse it back and you see what I mean. It's more like the apple of a cheek. I wouldn't want one quite this strong, but that's what it does. Okay, so you can play around with that until you get it right. So I'm going to cancel that one. I'm going to take my shape here. Oops, clicked on something I didn't want to do. And now when I go to my gradient fill, I go to my presets, and the one that I have got that I just made, which is called Biscuit, and click OK, and it will change to that preset. Now, you may wonder what you're going to use it for, but if you look at images that are obviously hand coloured, you can get some very nice, almost retro hand painted effects with this. It is a bit like an airbrush. It's not as malleable as an airbrush, and it's not as malleable as going into another program and using a digital airbrush to get this effect. But if you want to stay within the Scal software, it is a way of doing things. Now I'm going to go to my circle and I'm going to put a couple more circles on, like so. And I'm going to take a whole lot. Excuse me, my cat is now playing with my wires. He's on a very tight rein. He does exactly what he wants when he wants most of the time. They're not obedient like dogs. Right, now I want to go to Path and Union. And you can see I've got sort of like an animal face, a bear face, that sort of thing. So I now put in some more circles, like so, and like so. And I'm going to put those with an actual colour fill and choose my colour. And then I'm going to put this up, and I want one a bit darker than that. Yeah, that will do fine. And do the same thing, if I can get it. Right, okay, I'm going to go from outside and grab it from there. That's it. And I'm going to give that one a fill too. And it was somewhere around here, a bit darker. Okay, it may not be exactly the same colour. I could have just duplicated it, but you get the idea. So you then end up with a face with kind of shadows around it. It gives it a more three-dimensional look, and that's the object of the exercise. Okay, I hope you found that interesting and useful, and by all means, play with it to your heart's content. You will find uses for this, believe me, you will find uses. Thanks very much for watching. Bye-bye.